Calls it a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires. Swing and a drive. Deep left field. It's his way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by a couple DodgerBlue.com writers, Scott Geirman, Sebastian Ibarra, joining the show for the second time. First time Sebastian and I get to do this, and it's good to have a Raiders decal in the background on DodgerHeads. I got to say that. So, Sebastian, welcome. Dodgers got a couple games under their belt. We know these games don't matter for real, but it feels nice to have real baseball being played.
Hey Jeff, how's it going? Good to be on here for a second time. Yeah, just like you said, 5-0-1. It's spring training, but winning at games always feels good.
Yeah, Scott, I'm with him. It's like, I know it's spring training, and if they were 5-1, I'd say it doesn't matter, but it feels good to have a 5 in the win column.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Shohei Ohtani debuted today. We're going to get into a lot of that. This is an exciting day, man. But, always good to be undefeated. We don't get to see all the, the tie memes. No need for that. Let's just win some ball games, right? It's just 162-0.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal.
Yeah.
As Scott mentioned, lots to get to tonight. We're going to talk, of course, about Ohtani hitting a home run in his debut. Today, we're going to talk about a guy who's making his debut tomorrow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. We're going to talk about one of the things that was a topic of conversation today, which was the top of the Dodgers order, that ordering of Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman. Do we like that? Do we understand why it might be like that? We'll get into that. Walker Buehler, some surprising, I think, positive news on Walker Buehler we'll get to. And then, of course, we'll touch on Kike Hernandez being back in Dodger Blue and potentially, it sounds like, expected to be in the lineup possibly by the end of the week. But, Scott, let's talk with Shohei Ohtani. Makes his debut as a Dodger, gets off to a little bit of a rocky start, but at bat number 3, massive home run, 102 miles an hour off the bat, 377 feet away. Opposite field, left center field, just an absolute thing of beauty from Ohtani.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it looked like more of a pop-up off the bat that it never came down.
Yeah.
Ohtani said the same, said as much in the post game. But his first at bat, man, tough. Don't knock on there. Garrett Crochet is disgusting. So, he gets popped with, 100 mile an hour fastball away, just gets caught looking. Probably thought Crochet was going back to the slider. But third at bat, he works a good one against Dominic Leone, puts himself in a great spot. And that's what you're going to see a lot from Shohei. A lot of opposite field power. He's one of the best in the league at doing it. Power to all fields. He had like a 55%, no doubt, home run percentage in 2023. It's like 5th in ball among hitters with 25 homers at least. So he's going to put on an aerial display. So everyone should get used to stuff that might not look like it's going to get out, and it just never comes down.
Sebastian, I think that's the thing for me that is catching me a little bit by surprise with my entrance into the Ohtani experiences. I know this guy led all of Major League Baseball in OPS, but I think I hear so much about the two-way player and what a good pitcher he is and what a good hitter he is that now that he's just a hitter, I think I'm for the first time appreciating that even if he's just a hitter, he's maybe the best hitter in all of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, it's a damn good one. That the home run Oppo Taco, like the ball looks like it gets on his hands a little bit, and you're kind of thinking, oh, okay, it's probably a warning track. But like Scott said, just kept on carrying, went over the fence. It kind of really just shows how special of a player he is, how strong he is. He's able to muscle that out, not get the best barrel on it, but still be able to hit it out.
Yeah, and I think it was it Gavin Lux recently that had some quotes, and they were talking about him in the cage and basically how hard Ohtani hits baseballs, even just when it's being tossed to him. And he's like, look, even on a good day, you get it up to like 104, and Ohtani's hitting like pepper soft toss, and he's hitting balls like 110 miles an hour. Again, Scott, like, I still haven't seen him in person, but he's massive. Like,
Yep.
Again, I don't think people this guy's like 6'5" and jacked, and to see the strength when you see him hit a baseball like this, I think he even said afterwards, he thought he hit it too high. He didn't think it was going to carry.
Yep.
Tim Everett on the call, it's carrying. But I think, Scott, we're just going to see a lot of that, which is baseballs that just get muscled out of the park. It doesn't have to be a perfect swing with perfect contact for a guy as big and as strong as Ohtani.
No, Ohtani's a walking barrel. Like, that's just exactly what he is. So, but when we were at Dodger Fest, I'm not a tall guy, everybody. We'll get that on the line. You know, short guys, it's just short kings. I'm for first in line. We're 5'7", solid, built different. Besides the point. But Ohtani was towering over me. So when you say you thinking you know how big somebody is, like he's a man, like he's a grown man. Somebody just said that in chat. He's a big boy. So, but for me, seeing his first game, opposite field shot, that's something that I'm excited to see because, you know, it shows me that elbow's feeling fantastic. He's just like he said, you know, he feels like he's on the right track. He's exactly where he feels he should be. You know, we're a few games in already. People weren't worried, but Ohtani's been on his own schedule, and that's fine. Sometimes it's frustrating when you don't know a lot. Ohtani's just a very private guy. He has his own workout schedule, and by all accounts, everyone just needs to trust the process with him. And look what he's doing. So yeah, it was hilarious to see him getting clowned on for spring training at bats through 2, and then he, you know, has a 2-run pump, and then no one's talking about a thing. Yeah. So man, it's just. He's a unicorn, and that was majestic. And that was a pop-up that never came down. We're going to get used to it.
Ohtani listed at 6'4", by the way, and I'm looking at the Dodgers roster. Holy smokes, the Dodgers have not a lot of short kings, Scott. Mookie Betts is our representative in the short king category here, but Scott, off the top of your head, you want to take a guess. The tallest Dodger. You were at Dodger Fest. Tallest Dodger. Any guesses?
You can ask Blake. I'm going to say Tyler Glass now. Am I here?
6'8".
He's 6'8". So I got a photo. Blake, I know Blake's in the chat. I was standing in front of him and I said, Blake, I need you to take a picture. So it could be like, you know, towering over me. It was just the craziest thing. It was, yeah. So he's a man.
Yeah.
He's a man.
He's huge. They have one hitter. Ohtani, not the tallest, 2 hitters taller than Ohtani on the Dodgers. Sebastian, you want to take a shot here?
Not tall. Oh, man, I don't know.
Taller than Ohtani. They got 2 6'5" guys.
Call me in, Sebastian.
Go ahead, Scott. Go.
Freddie?
Freddie's 6'5".
Oh. Freddie?
Anyone else?
Oh, Hayward.
Oh, there you go. Nailed it. Both those guys are 6'5". On the pitching side, there's 6'5" dudes everywhere. Ryan Yarbrough, would not have guessed Ryan Yarbrough. 6'5", listed at 6'5", though. Trinan, 6'5". Sheehan, 6'5". Bobby, 6'5". And Glasnow, 6'8". Frasso, 6'5". So just big dudes everywhere. Yamamoto, the other short king, Scott. We can't forget our guy, Yamamoto. He's the other short king, 5'10". So we got Mookie at 5'9", Yamamoto at 5'10". So good stuff there. Thing.
Lakers need some help. Send him over to the Lakers, man.
Yeah,
Seriously. They need some big guy. Gets Glasnow. Glasnow could probably grab a couple rebounds.
100%.
Sebastian, real quick, before we leave this Ohtani conversation, Scott mentioned people are freaking out after the strikeout. The video of the San Francisco Giants people.
Oh no!
Just clown fest, an absolute clown fest in San Francisco. Any thoughts from you, Sebastian?
It reminded me of the those guys who do the Padre raps. Like I don't know, I don't know what kind of thought process goes into like why one is spring training, and like it's just hating for no reasons. Like the video wasn't even that funny. Yeah. And it's like, what are you doing? So I don't know what they're doing over there.
Scott, it's a bunch of grown men. It's a bunch of grown men standing in a room deciding that was funny. I'm speechless. I mean, again, I think the Padres rap video guys, those are at least teenagers, it looks like, or young adults. So it's like, hey, you know, we're all young and dumb at one point. These are like grown men in the KKBN, whatever the radio station.
AMBR.
It's brutal. Any thoughts, Scott?
Just same thing. It was just cringe post. You know, they were sitting there like, yeah, this is gas. Can't wait to post this. Yeah, this is gonna be a banger.
Amazing. And then they tweeted it out. It's one thing to record it, it's another to be like, hey, send this. This is gonna be awesome. And it's
just impression farming. It's just impression farming. That's all they're doing.
It's brutal. All right, let's shift from one new Dodger to another. Ohtani makes his debut on Tuesday. Yoshinobu Yamamoto makes his debut Wednesday. I keep saying it. He's the highest paid pitcher in Major League history. It's crazy. Sebastian, we know the reports from guys like Freddie Freeman, Jason Hayward, when he first faced live hitters. Right. Tomorrow we get to see him actually in action. So my question for you, Sebastian, is 24 hours from now, DodgerBlue.com's got their game recap up. I don't know who's writing it. Maybe Matt Moreto. Maybe it's you. I don't know. Somebody's writing it. What's the headline about Yamamoto 24 hours from now?
Yeah, I'd say it has a good shot to be Yamamoto shines in 1 inning, something along those lines. The reason I say 1 inning, in these games, Dodger starters really haven't gone like past 2.
Yeah.
And the reason I say 1 is like obviously they've been really careful with him coming over from the NPB. So I think maybe he could go 2, who knows? But I think maybe 1 just to be on the safe side.
Yeah.
And I think he'll impress. He has that that upper 90s fastball, that plus splitter and that plus curve. So it should be. And plus, he's really meticulous in his in his craft, so it should be good to go, I think.
Scott, Texas Rangers, the opposition. It almost is laughable to say who the team is because you're 70% of the guys who take at bats in this game you've probably never heard of before. I've never heard of before. I'll speak for myself. But based on the reports we got from his first attempt at facing live hitters, is there any doubt in your mind, Scott, that this is going to be an impressive and successful first appearance from Yamamoto?
Stuff wise, we're going to see, things that we just haven't seen from a pitcher in some time.
Yeah.
People are going to realize why he's the highest paid. He received the richest contract from a starting pitcher. He just has an extensive arsenal, curveball, real rainbow curveball. It's a beautiful pitch. So people should, as results aside, same thing like Glass now. Everybody will, clamor over the results. If he hangs one, guys are still working through stuff, but we're going to see, just like Sebastian said, mid to upper 90s fastball, devastating splitter. It's a true swing and miss pitch. So it's going to be, a breath of fresh air. This is a guy who should be on this big stage. I'm just excited for it. If you want to know my headline, Yamamoto displays wide arsenal, beautiful arsenal. That's what we're going to be expecting. I don't care about the results. I want to see him, showing all of his pitches, having a feel for it, both sides of the plate. Freddie Freeman called him nasty, called him the whole package. So that's what I'm looking forward to actually breaking down.
Yeah. I could just see Sebastian, the headline at The Athletic and the headline at ESPN just being like the basic summary of their headlines being holy crap. Like this guy is here, like the Cy Young hype train, the Rookie of the Year hype train. Like I could just see that he gets the first appearance. He's sort of in a real game, not just facing hitters. And I could just see the Jeff Passons of the world going out and writing an article that they probably already got 75% written. They're just waiting to click send on because to Scott's point, like if Freddie Freeman says he's nasty, if he looks nasty against Freddie Freeman, he ain't facing Freddie Freeman tomorrow on the Texas Rangers. So these guys are getting way more competition in live batting practice than they are in games like the Rangers.
Right. Freddie's got kind of one of the best bat to ball skills, eyes, and all of Major League Baseball. If he says you're nasty, you got to be pretty dang nasty to impress Freddie. So, like Scott said, it isn't necessarily about the results. Like if he gives, I'm not going to say anything about that. If it's not about the results. It's about seeing that stuff, how it looks live, how he's executing his pitches. That's kind of the most important thing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's results aside. I mean, crazy stuff happens. To Scott's point, what you said, Sebastian, sometimes these guys aren't even necessarily concerned with getting outs as much as trying some things out, working through things, stuff that you can only do on a mound against guys you haven't seen, that sort of thing. But all that said, none of these guys have ever seen Yamamoto before. We've heard the reviews. I think it's going to be a holy crap moment for a lot of people when he takes the mound tomorrow. So back to back, you get Ohtani on a Tuesday. You got Yamamoto making his debut on a Wednesday. It's a good time to be down in Arizona catching some Dodger games. Speaking of Tuesday, let's talk about something that had some people fired up, I would say. There were opinions, Scott. There were hashtag takes about the Dodgers and the order of their lineup. Mookie Betts leading off, Shohei Ohtani batting second, Freddie Freeman batting third. It sounds like, by all accounts, Scott, this is going to be the lineup moving forward. Give me your thoughts first, but before we get to the reasoning why, do you like this ordering of Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman?
Yeah, I really do. I wrote about this in late December, about how they would order that top three. I think that if the front office is thinking the same way that I kind of looked into it, is Freddie Freeman's had an extensive amount of time, like in the 3-hole. He's just, Sebastian talked about, best bat to ball skills. He does not expand. Which is terrific. Mookie's the exact same way. They called Ohtani a free swinger today. We're going to see a fair amount of strikeouts, but we're going to see a lot of pop. But I like the fact that they're going the 1, 2, 3, Mookie, Ohtani, Freddie, just because if you're going to pitch around Ohtani and you don't want to give up a fly, you're going to get to the 3 spot when Freddie's not going to expand as well.
Yeah.
And if you do, then he's going to put the ball in play. And if you pitch around him, he's going to put the ball in play because that's just what he does. He's had 4,300 career at bats from the 3 spot, 900 OPS. It says all it is. So he's had time there. He feels comfortable in that 3 spot. And this is the best 1-2 in front of him he's ever had. So it's hard for me to be like, it's not going to be another plus.
Yeah. Sebastian, there's really no wrong way you could order these 3 guys. Is this how you would order it if you were sort of calling the shots?
I'm glad you asked me that. I was about to interject and be like, that's how I would put them in. I'm about to buy MLB The Show 24 when it comes out. That's the order I'm putting them in. Like you said, there really isn't a wrong way to deploy them. But I am comfortable with this. All the points that Scott just gave out, Freddie's comfortable in the 3rd. Having that threat of Ohtani, you have kind of protecting in a way. Obviously, protecting is usually behind, but in a way, it's kind of a different way of protecting him. You kind of have to pitch. People say on the broadcast all the time, like having to execute perfectly every single batter takes a toll on a pitcher.
Yeah.
Having like that worry of facing Ohtani and then you have Freddie right after him, like, come on, that's a lot to ask of a pitcher.
Yeah, and I do think you can protect a guy from in front of him because if Ohtani or Mookie Betts is on base and Freddie Freeman is up, you can't pitch around Freddie Freeman. You've got to throw pitches in the strike zone because you don't want to, have 2 guys on. Because look, the guy we haven't mentioned is Will Smith or Teoscar Hernandez or Max Muncy or whoever you've got in the 4, 5, 6. Those guys are all-star caliber players. And so the lineup is going to be deep and it's going to be long. Sebastian, one thing that I posted on Twitter, on X, whatever we're calling it nowadays, was the speed factor. There's people talking about, hey, speaking of things that we don't really think about with Ohtani, his speed and the amount of stolen bases he might be capable of if the Dodgers were to let him loose there, especially not having to worry about pitching. But I just think from the perspective of, we know Freddie Freeman's MO isn't necessarily home runs. It's slapping doubles into the gap. Well, if Ohtani or Betts is on first base when Freddie Freeman slaps the ball into the gap, it's going to be a run. So I think part of the thought process, at least from my perspective, why I like this is just because Mookie's not going to get in Ohtani's way from a speed perspective. And Ohtani with Freddie Freeman's bat to ball skills is going to be an absolute menace on the bases. And so, while yes, there's home runs everywhere in the top 3, you've also got 2. I mean, even Freddie, 3 of the best base runners, even if he doesn't have the high end speed that the other 2 do in all of Major League Baseball as well. Yeah.
I was going to say Ohtani's speed's kind of like the forgotten 5th tool of him, but he probably has a lot. You could say he has a lot more than 5 tools because the 2-way play.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is that kind of hidden 5th tool of his where he's an athletic freak. It takes a lot of athleticism to be able to pitch and hit. So, like you said, Mookie's not gonna block him. That's always the worry with how you kind of order a lineup. You don't want to have a slow guy in front of a fast guy.
Yeah.
But like you said, having Mookie and Ohtani in front of Freddie to bring him in with a double in the gap can't ask for much more than that.
Scotty, how much do you think something like speed plays into decision-making like this? You mentioned that Mookie's most comfortable in the 1 hole. Freddie, by all accounts, seems to be most comfortable in the 3 hole. Do you think it's more of that, or is it more of kind of the unique skill sets each of these guys might bring to the table?
No, I just think it's about, deepening that lineup. I think more it's like that putting Mookie and Freddie back to back is great for its reasons in itself. Putting Mookie and Ohtani is great for different reasons as well. I don't think speed really comes into it. Just like Sebastian, it's just another hidden tool of Shohei. He had 20 steals last year, and that's in 135 games, something like that. So it's like, if they let him, like if he's greenlit to run, and it just all depends. It's going to be, I think I talked with Blake about this more than a lot, that the largest beneficiaries of Ohtani right at the top and Freddie in the 3 are going to be Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez, whoever's batting right behind them.
Yeah.
RBI opportunities are going to go through the roof. And I think Teoscar is someone we're not talking about enough. Speed wise, I don't know if that really is a big thought, just because you get on base, they're going to slug. And we almost saw Freddie break the record last year for doubles. Did he have 60? Was that, he was right there? Was that what it was?
I think he broke the franchise record. Yeah.
Broke the franchise record. That's right. I remember. Yeah. So, but we're going to see a lot of Freddie. We could see Freddie Freeman's largest RBI production ever. So let's get ready for that. I don't know if speed is a reason for it, but he's going to have guys on base. And Ohtani's just lucky enough. We're lucky enough to have that speed from Ohtani where he's able to steal, 20 bags and he's going to be putting 40 bombs. So it's just combinations are endless. And you can't go wrong. Everybody's going to think that exact same thing. You can't go wrong however you dice it. I just think Mookie in the 1, you can flip-flop Freddie and Ohtani, but I think they're dead set. I think once they keep this order, they're going to just roll with it and stick with it.
Freddie Freeman, by the way, 59 doubles last year. It was tied for the most in the major leagues over the last 87 years. Joe Medwick of the Cardinals, 64 doubles is the National League record. That was back in 1936 for those keepers. So, franchise record, nearly a major league record, but good stuff from Freddie Freeman there.
And then kind of sticking with the speed aspect, like the whole taking a step back and look at the lineup as a whole. You have Gavin Lux, obviously, with some speed, James Outman, a little bit of speed. So there's speed up and down through this lineup. So that should
Husky Muncie, running the bases too. No, but I'm with you. I mean, look, this was a big storyline last year. Was that stolen bases were up across Major League Baseball? Teams like the Diamondbacks made a huge push, and the Dodgers didn't really dabble. Now, are they going to risk the health of Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani? I'm skeptical, but at the same time, given a full year of data, is it possible the Dodgers get more aggressive on the base pass? I guess I'll just say I wouldn't be shocked by this. Last thing on the lineup, Scott, you kind of referenced this. Do you think that number 4 spot is going to be Will Smith, or do you think it's going to be a rotating sort of platoon almost between him and Teoscar Hernandez in the 4-5 spot?
I mean, the way Teoscar's hitting right now and the way he looks, everybody needs to know his name. Like, there's a reason why he's getting paid a lot. He's a bat. I think it might take some pressure off of Will Smith. There's no knock on him. They're kind of interchangeable there. Will Smith had a little, some injury stuff. I mean, the concussion. So he had a little bit of a tough year last year, tough breaks. I don't think it's any knock on his ability, but if Teoscar keeps hitting, I can see Dave Roberts absolutely sliding him right into the cleanup spot, and he'll do incredible. Yeah. I'm hesitant to drop Will Smith just because it's where he's been for a few years. But I would without a doubt. I know you might not like this. It's not a knock on him, Jeff. I promise you. So don't. I'll duck and cover. I would put Teoscar in the 4.
Okay.
I would bat him cleanup.
Look, I think if you're buying the Max Muncy hype, I think he's another name that could be in that mix as well, Sebastian, for the 4th spot. Like I think any 3 of those guys on a given night, depending on who's hitting well and whatnot, could be in the 4, 5, 6 mix. If you had to guess, Sebastian, would it be Will Smith getting the most at bats in that 4 spot for you, or do you think it ends up being Teoscar Hernandez or someone else?
Yeah, I like bring up Muncy. I think his biggest strength, obviously, is like his play discipline, his eye. So I don't know about he could work in the 4 spot, but kind of keeping him 5-6, where he kind of extends an inning. Maybe he's not an inning killer. Really use that play discipline to the best of his advantage. I think I wouldn't be mad at Teoscar in the 4. Like Scott said, the way he's been hitting, if he keeps it up, you earn what you get what you earn. Yeah, and then. But obviously, Will Smith in the 4, keeping him there, fine by me.
Yeah, and Blake's pointing this out in the chat, and I was just digging. I mean, obviously, Ohtani a lefty, Freddie Freeman a lefty, so it feels like most likely a righty in that 4 spot. Now, do they go righty, lefty, righty, 4, 5, 6, and Muncy's 5, and maybe Will Smith is 4 and Teoscar Hernandez is 6? That would be my guess, is that Will Smith ends up with the most at-bats in the number 4 spot, but the ordering of the Dodgers lineup, let's just close this with, will be one of the topics of conversation throughout the year. And there's probably going to be pressure on guys. If it is Will Smith in the 4 spot, what happens if he starts out slow, or Teoscar Hernandez? People get accustomed to, yes, the power, but also the strikeout numbers, or if Max Muncy is playing well. I mean, it'd just be a fun thing to watch, and curious to see how our guy Dave Roberts tends to navigate that. Let's shift from the offense. Let's go to the pitching side, and some positive news here. Walker Buehler set to face hitters tomorrow. This is interesting because there were some quotes about Walker Buehler a day ago that he was searching for stuff, and Dave made it seem like, Scott, this was going to be something that was going to take. It was going to be a couple more bullpens before we see him against live hitters. And then what do you know, 24 hours later, hey, by the way, Walker Buehler's facing live hitters on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's like we talked about, man. It's just a lot of, we don't really know what's going on. It's just peculiar that Walker Buehler was ready to come back at the end of last season, and they kind of halted it, which is absolute. I co-sign that. There was no reason to rush him back, but there are not a lot of positive signs right now. I know he's facing hitters, but sorry, Jeff, man, I got to do it. It doesn't feel like Walker Buehler's on a good path. It just doesn't. It's hard for me to get on board with that. He was ready to do that. His velocity is down. He doesn't, Blake mentioned while he was at spring training, he doesn't have a real big feel for his secondary stuff. He's not throwing mid upper 90s anymore. We'll see how the spring goes on. But the fact that there's such a cloudy area right now and they don't really have a spot, like a timeline for him, it's not looking good for having him as a heavy contributor, but that he needs to in a walk year.
Sebastian, here's the full quote, he's still working through some things in his delivery. He'll get there. The most important thing is that the teeth of the baseball is good. And the life of the baseball coming out is good as well. Walker's a guy that has a really good feel for his body awareness, where his hand is supposed to be. He's just not repeating it and getting the feels that he feels like he needs to have. That was Dave Roberts talking to the Orange County Register yesterday. This has been a big debate among all Dodger fans. I think specifically on our staff, you've got Blake, who says Walker Buehler is cooked. You've got Daniel, myself, and Matt, who are on the we believe in butane side of things. Scott has kind of, I would say he's tried to navigate this middle. It sounds like he's falling off towards the
Don't
Blake
say I'm
side
teetering, man. I'm not
here.
teetering.
He's teetering. He says it's not a good path. So it's teetering towards negativity. Sebastian, where are you at on Walker Buehler?
Yeah, it's always good to have like kind of an objective perspective. I will say this, that it's good that we're seeing the Dodgers test out the likes of Gavin Stone, Landon Knack, so that they have all these guys competing for the 5th spot. And Knack looked good. Gavin Stone kind of came down to earth a little bit, gave up a run today, but he still has that changeup. So it's good that they have these options, so they don't have. I don't know why that's kind of with the mixed signals, kind of confusing.
Yeah,
they don't have to rush him back. They said one thing a day ago. You know, he's kind of. Yeah, he's a ways away. Now he's pitching. That's the one. That's the thing I would criticize and kind of be like, what are you doing here? Like, you have the depth to make sure that he's 100% coming back. So I don't. The thing I'd say is just be careful, take your time, make sure he's here for the postseason where it matters most.
Okay, Sebastian. I know it's your second show here, and it's the first time we've done this, but I'm gonna push back a little bit. Like, where are you at on Buehler?
Don't do it.
Are you buying in? Are you buying in to Walker Buehler being a positive contributor to the Dodgers in 2024? You know, my barometer is like, do you think he posts an ERA that begins with a 3 or a number that's bigger than that?
Let's see. I'd say, it depends on how many innings he gets.
Let's say he throws 75 innings.
Then I'd probably say bigger than 3. But
so you're going 4+.
I'd probably say low 4s.
Okay.
I will say that I will let my bias of my heart kind of take over, because I can't completely write him off. The thing that I'll always remember Walker for is that Padres game in 2020 where he has the bases loaded, and I think it was 1 out, or was it 2? Yeah, it was 1 out. He gets the first guy, and then that bat against who was that, Grisham? He gets down the count, and he just pumps gas. Like, I think he just pumps gas right on the he dots the outside corner, and then he blows it by Grisham to get out of that inning. If he can't get back to that, we haven't seen him without kind of that life in his fastball. So I think that'll be what determines what he brings to the team this year.
Scott, as the kids say, he's got that dog in him.
He's spitting. You know, Sebastian's right on. I've been saying the same exact thing. We don't know who we have no clue. Like, it's not I'm teetering the fence. It's like he has to. Buehler not having this is so 2-part concern. Like, his stuff was trending down pre-injury. It was already going that way. Didn't have that, big triple-digit fastball anymore. Now he's second Tommy John. We don't know how he's going to pitch, how his secondary stuff's going to play off without having that big, high-powered arsenal. But that's what made him. That's what his claim to fame, being able to blow up by you. Those moments, he won't have that anymore.
Yeah.
So, and now Dave says he has to find those mechanics and repeating those. That's all concerns for me. But once he locks it in, he could go on a run where he figures it out and he's able to pitch, but it's just going to be, is he going to be able to sequence enough? Is his stuff going to play up enough that without having that fastball, is he going to be able to bury that cutter inside? Is this slider going to be competitive? Arm action, will that be good? Just a lot of question marks where it's like, none of us do. This is just, we're talking about nostalgia bombing ourselves with what he has done in the past, but he's a completely different pitcher than he was. And we don't even know what that completely different pitcher looks like.
Yeah. Laura with the super chat, we greatly appreciate it. She's guessing a 4.1 ERA for Walker Buehler. It's worth pointing out. I mean, look at his peak as a rookie. He's throwing, I guess that doesn't count as small sample size. 96.7, 96.8 average fastball velocity back in 2019 and 2020. It's worth pointing out in 2021 and 2022, that number had already dropped to 95.5, 95.4. Is that where it's going to live? Is it going to be more like 94? We'll see. I mean, I think Daniel has been kind of the guy that's saying, look, it's, whatever, it's February 27th. So how fast he's throwing a fastball on February 28th is not the most important thing. It's possible that fastball velocity jumps up a little bit as this thing goes on. But I also think it's worth pointing out, I push back a little bit because while the fastball is not going to be what it used to be, I still think he's proven over the last 2 years that he can have levels of effectiveness despite that. I mean, 2022, his FIP was 3.8. 2021, the FIP was 3.16. He's got an ERA under 3, basically, over those 2 years combined. Now, we'll see how this plays out. I think what I would say is to kind of piggyback off what Sebastian said. I'm betting on that guy, not the guy that necessarily has the 99-mile-an-hour fastball. I'm betting on the guy that gives zero craps about everything else, that wants it as bad as anybody else, and that just, I think, is going to find a way to make it work. I mean, he's not Clayton Kershaw. They're very different pitchers, but there was a day when Clayton Kershaw was blowing fastballs by guys, and everyone said, oh, the fastball 93, 92, 91, like he's not going to be able to make it work. Clayton Kershaw has never been bad when he's been healthy for extended periods of time. Walker Buehler relied more on his fastball than Clayton Kershaw, but Kershaw relied a lot on his fastball. So I'm not saying he's going to follow the path of literally the greatest pitcher of all time or one of the greatest pitchers of all time, but that's kind of my pushback is lots of guys have found ways to make it work outside of it. And if there's a guy that I'm going to bet on to do that, it's going to be Walker Buehler. I might be wrong. I've been wrong lots of times, and this might be one of them, but I'm just choosing to bet on Buehler more so over everything else. I see we got another super chat here from Laura. Dave is already sending mixed messages. That is never good news. Sebastian, as you get more into the writing side of things, you'll get used to this. I mean, this is Dave Roberts 101 telling you one thing on Monday and the opposite on Tuesday. So, Laura, I'm with you. Some of the quotes from Dave Roberts have been concerning, but maybe the stuff today, Sebastian, tells me I should just care a little bit less and take a little less seriously what Dave Roberts has to say.
Yeah, maybe there's some gamesmanship in it. Just kind of, I guess at this point, just take it day by day, see what the news is. Don't put too much stock in kind of the mixed signals, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, we'll see when he's ready to pitch. I mean, I think the piece of what you've said that I agree with most is like, it's helpful for content purposes for guys sitting around just talking about the Dodgers. It's like, nobody likes to be the guy that says, well, let's just see what happens. It's like, no, we're here because we want to have opinions and we want to argue for our opinions. And yet I think there's something to on February 27th, feeling like any of us need to die on that he's going to be good or he's going to be terrible hill. Let's see what the next 3 or 4 weeks look like. And heck, if the plan is not for him to debut, Scott, until April or May, then we've got even longer than that.
Yeah, man. So don't ask me to pick a side on February 27th. You're doing that. Don't do that to me. But
business, Scott. You're in the content business.
I know. We want, but I'll, I won't die on a hill of saying Buehler is washed or anything, because I was there against the Rockies in 2018. I was there in game 163. I watched that. Like I remember that. It was the craziest. That was the craziest stuff ever. I believe in his compete. I love that word from Dave. Shout out Dave, man. It's my favorite thing. I believe in Buehler's compete. I believe in him going out there and being relentless and trying to figure out what's going on. Like I really do. But his last 2 seasons pitching like on the mound, 21 and 22, at his lowest K/9s in his career, back-to-back seasons. And that, like, if you're saying he was hurt in 21, then he still went out and posted, 308. We were talking about numbers, but it's a different picture, man. We don't know what's going on with him. We don't know how he's going to look against hitters. We've seen him give up hard contact and the stuff that has been posted, but he's probably just working through mechanics. It's not that I'm playing a side of the fence. It's that this is a unique situation with a former power pitcher having to learn to be a finesse guy. And Kershaw example, Kershaw's generational. Kershaw's a once in a lifetime guy. And Buehler just, who's shade, he's just not that. He doesn't have that pitch that Kershaw has, like a slider where you can throw that every single time and you're banking on success. Buehler just doesn't have that. And it was his fastball. He just doesn't have that. So it's different stuff. It's not hating on him. It's just that he's coming back from a big time injury again, and his stuff has done nothing but trend down. And that's where my hesitancy comes in. So it sucks because my homer in me wants to go, Buehler's going to find a way to get outs, but we're talking about there's a roster crunch in the or in the starting rotation where they have a lot of upside guys. And Sasaki looming next year. Are you going to have enough where the Dodgers are like, yes, let's bring you back? And they might see enough where if Buehler wants to stay within the system, which would be smart, but it's just, there's more question marks for me right now than saying like, yes, we can pencil him in that he's going to have, I don't like seeing him not being able to repeat mechanics. I can't get over that. And that's bugging me a ton.
Yeah. Sebastian, last word here on Buehler.
Yeah, I was going to say, I kind of agree with Scott. That compete. I think that's what will give Walker the best chance. He's been probably our best big game pitcher in recent years. You think of, like you said, Scott,
man.
game 163 with Rockies, Red Sox in that one World Series win that we got. He was great in that. I don't know if he was pitching in the win, but he had a good start against the Red Sox. Oh wait, what are the other ones? I know he has Padres. Obviously, I just brought that up, and then there's probably a couple other ones, but yeah, I think that's what will give him the best shot to kind of adapt, that compete, that dog in him, like we all say. That might give him the best shot to kind of stay.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's betting on an unknown. It's a guy coming off of 2 Tommy Johns. I know a lot of people point to the sticky stuff. I won't rehash every argument I've had with Blake in a text thread about how Walker Buehler's stuff plus actually was fine. Well above fine after the sticky stuff. But I think you could point to the strikeout numbers. You're right on that, Scott. I think you could point to the diminished velocity, and that's all fair stuff. It's just going to come down to, can he adapt? Can he adjust? And is he going to be healthy? And if those are the 3 biggest questions, I think, more so than like, what does his velocity end up looking like? Like, I think if he can get it to 94, it's going to be a lot more about, can he adapt? Can he adjust? And do you want to bet on him on that one? All right, last segment here before we get to some questions. The big news from Dodgers camp this week, besides Ohtani debuting Yamamoto tomorrow, is that Kike Hernandez is back with the Dodgers. Sebastian, we did a live show, myself and Scott, with Blake yesterday, breaking down the Margot trade. Kike Hernandez coming in. Give me your initial thoughts on a guy that, it sounds like might be in a Dodger uniform by the end of the week.
Yeah, I tweeted out when they traded Margot, I was like, okay, maybe that's good news for one of Miguel Vargas or Andy Pajes. And then I saw, like, not even 20 minutes later, Kike. I was like, oh, okay, never mind. I tweeted that out after. Just along the same lines as Walker. Kike just has that it factor in him with in the playoffs. I think it was a 3-homer game versus the Cubs that one year, 2017. Obviously, the big home run against the Braves, against Minter, stuff like that. He always shows up in the big moments, and he's obviously a good locker room guy, good glue guy, very versatile in the field. So, I think it's, they're not obviously going to ask him to do a whole lot. If he's able to do his job whenever he gets in the lineup, that'll be good enough.
Yeah. Look, Scott and I were very positive about this move. We like the move of Margot to Kike Hernandez, just given the flexibility. I had questions about Margot and his fit. I think Brandon Gomes said it perfectly. It's like, hey, this has less to do with Margot and his fit and more to do with the fact that we just like Kike a little bit more because of the versatility. I think it was important that they kind of went out of their way to mention, hey, everybody in the clubhouse liked the way that he fit in last year. I think There were some rumblings that may not have ended well. His first time with the Dodgers, I think he comes back, he accepts his role, he understands kind of what he's supposed to be in the clubhouse, in the lineup, where he's going to be playing, that kind of thing. And I think it fits right in. But Scott, now that you've had a little bit more time to marinate it, obviously some more details have come out about the Margot trade, the Dodgers including a prospect in that one and getting one back, the Dodgers sending more money than I was expecting. I think they were sending $6 million with Margot. So Minnesota only paying $4 million of Margot's trade, of his salary in that trade. As all of that has come out, has anything changed from your view on the Margot trade / Hernandez reacquiring?
No, I mean, money kind of evened out. This was purely like a personnel move. They weren't trying to offload any salary gain to, go from that sense. I know Blake has some. I love Blake, man. He's the funniest dude. He picks on something to harp about, and I love it. But prospects aside, that's what that is. This was more about bringing in Kike Hernandez for versatility. I know they spoke today talking about Kike. I think it was Dave mentioned that primary work is going to be against left-handed pitching, which is fine, but it's just hilarious that Kike Hernandez had reverse splits last year. It's a topic for another time. We'll do that. But he provides a lot, just besides on-field versatility. Clubhouse, he's a glue guy. Sebastian hammered that home. He fits with this organization so well. And not every single piece to a roster has to be about on-field production. Like there are guys that bring a locker room together, and it matters. Like that's just how it is. Like I know optimal roster building is making sure every guy is productive, but there are intangibles that the numbers won't show. And that's where, Matt's probably sitting there pumping his fist like, Scott, let's go, man. Don't talk nerd ball. But Kike Hernandez is just a guy. You get him in the Dodgers organization in this clubhouse, and everything elevates. Like I was excited last year when they reacquired him, and I had the exact same feel when this move was announced. Like it's not nostalgia. This is a piece where it feels like there's a cherry on top. Now we go.
Yeah, and when Andrew Friedman came, I mean, he made a big point of saying that the vibe in the clubhouse and the culture that they wanted to create matter. And I think while a lot of people aren't Dave Roberts' biggest fans, I think that's the thing that keeps him around and makes it so that he has the highest winning percentage in Major League history, is because he's a vibes guy. He's a clubhouse guy. Dave Roberts is. And so when it comes to literally the 26th man on your roster, which is Kike Hernandez, the 13th position player that you have, he's the second utility guy behind Chris Taylor. You could make a case that he may not be number 2 on the depth chart at any position on the field. And yet, when you're making a move for a guy like that, this is the type of guy you want. A guy who is comfortable pinch hitting, a guy who has come up in big spots. There's not a late game situation. It's going to be too scary for him. A guy that can play literally everywhere for you, including throw some pitches if you need him to. I mean, so it just makes sense on every level that you would go and acquire a guy like Kike Hernandez. And I think it's the ultimate, no disrespect to Manuel Margot, but Kike Hernandez is Kike Hernandez. And there had been smoke about this move all along. And so it's a no brainer. I mean, again, we were getting to arguments with Blake about the prospect that the Dodgers sent out. Look, they basically swapped a high A shortstop for a high A shortstop, and they swapped Margot for Kike Hernandez. The numbers all wash. Like, who cares about the rest of it? Kike Hernandez is back, and I think that's kind of the finishing touches for the Dodgers on this sort of addition here. So, Sebastian, give me the last word on Kike Hernandez, and then, folks, if you want to start throwing questions in the chat, we'll start answering those in just a minute. But give me your last thought here, Sebastian, on Kike Hernandez and the Margot trade.
Yeah, kind of the one more point on that, the prospect kind of trade aspect of it. The shortstop the Dodgers got back, kind of looking through Twitter, kind of reading his scouting reports and stuff. It looks like he's going to be more of a defensive guy. Maybe the Dodgers can see if they can unlock something in his swing. But it's just kind of interesting to note with this trade, and then with the Sweeney trade back in December, I think they now have two shortstops that were drafted in the top 40 of the 2021 draft. I think Sweeney was like 20, and Noah Miller was 36. So it's just kind of an interesting kind of thing how that shook out.
Yeah, and look, those are guys that came with pedigrees. The guy they just added came out of high school, so there's room for development. So to be determined there. All right, let's get to some questions. Great question here from Larry. Scott, I think, is going to love this one, especially. Living in a fantasy world, who's more likely to get in a physical altercation during a game? Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, or Shohei Ohtani? Three of the most chill, friendly guys in all of
Great
Major
question,
League
man.
Baseball. Scotty, who you going with? Most likely to get into a fight?
Ohtani.
Okay.
I would say Ohtani. Yep. We talked
Sebastian, who you got?
about that. Long time ago. We talked about I brought up the WBC pregame where he basically, told Japan's roster, I couldn't give a damn about, who they've got on the other side there. And that for me was just, built different, man. He's got a lot of the dog in him. He doesn't care. He's ready to go to war. So I'm Ohtani.
Okay.
Ohtani.
Sebastian?
I gotta agree with Scott. I think he's a little bit of a gentle giant. He doesn't mess with anyone, but he kind of keeps to himself. But if you provoke him, or if WBC high intensity atmosphere, that dog just comes out of him, man. And he's obviously a big competitor. And yeah, Otani's my pick too.
Look, Freddie Freeman's 0%. Like, Freddie Freeman's third on everybody's list. There is, like, I don't know what would have to happen for Freddie Freeman to get in an altercation. I was going to say Mookie, just because, short king, little grit action there for us short guys, Scotty. So, I could see him sort of chip on the shoulder, maybe a hard slide into second base when he's trying to turn a double play, or come to the defense of a guy who's maybe getting thrown at. I don't know. None of these guys are ever getting into an altercation, I think, is the bottom line. And we all agree that Freddie Freeman's third on that list. Question from Robbie here.
Mookie would try to roll a bowling ball at you, man.
There you go. Hey, you never know. Bowling balls are heavy, bro. Robbie wants to know, how long do you think the plan to bring Kike back was in the works? They immediately announced the bobblehead night after. Tells me that it was probably a while. Scott, I'll come to you again. I mean, we heard rumors of this. Doesn't seem coincidental that as soon as they were able to move off of Margot, Kike Hernandez's deal was sort of signed, sealed, and delivered.
Yeah, honestly, it probably was just about finding a dance partner and waiting for money to line up there. They probably didn't want to do too much. And I really wouldn't think that you think Prospect had much to go into it? Like, if I know Blake's super high on what we gave up, but I think it just had a lot to do with money, making sure it was just a wash in that sense. But yeah, I believe this was something that they really were trying to figure out, finding a good spot for, Manuel Margot. Just so it wasn't a situation. Dodgers do that stuff. They wait. Yeah. They don't have any reason. Like, I'm sure, like, Kike's been a guy that they've had constant communication with. He's not someone they'll leave in the dark about it. And just the fact that the bobblehead night was immediately announced. This is something that the Dodgers were just waiting to find a spot for him. And yeah, it's probably been for a while. Like, for a while, they've probably had this cooking.
That said, I don't think the promo department is necessarily in on sort of the inner workings. I bet they just had a couple blank spots on the bobblehead schedule. And as soon as Kike came back, it's like, well, that's a no-brainer. So I wouldn't look too much into that part, but I think the rest of it adds up. We got another super chat here from Ozzy. He says, Margot probably also got traded because of the depth with Andy Pages and Miguel Vargas and better chances of them playing later in the year. Sebastian, what do you mentioned these two guys as your immediate beneficiaries of the Margot trade right before Margot was immediately replaced. Do you think, I mean, my only pushback on this is, like, Kike's got to play somewhere. So, I know Margot is gone and he's strictly an outfielder, but I think Kike Hernandez is going to have most of his opportunities in the outfield. So do you think belief in Pages and Vargas now playing in the outfield, do you think that played a role in the thinking here?
I think it has to. You can't, with the trade of Michael Busch in the offseason, they have, like, they're log jammed at so many of these positions.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to think that they don't want to trade away these guys that they've been developing forever when they don't have a spot for them. I'd like to think that would factor into the decision to trade away Margot. Obviously, Kike's a 1-year deal, so it's probably not the end of the world for these guys. Maybe they come in, it's always good to have depth. Maybe someone gets injured in the outfield. It's always good to have positional depth. And then who knows, maybe they play lights out in AAA and they earn their way up, or, bare minimum September call-ups, they get the call up there. So Miguel Vargas he's made the transition pretty well to the outfield. Yeah. Obviously, he had that one game with a nice catch. So as long as he's acclimating well to the outfield, Pages has been, getting some good hits out there. So they're both good fallback options, obviously. But probably Kike is going to get a bulk of his work out in the outfield.
Scott, what do you think? Page's coming off of shoulder injury last year, kind of working his way back. And then Vargas, who, all of us were high on a year ago. What do you think their sort of influence was on the decision-making of Andrew Friedman here?
Ultimately, that it's might be about time for them the Dodgers front office to give some of their prospect outfielders. Pages was knocking on the door a bit. There's a lot of talk about him and hurt his shoulder. Glad to see he's, hasn't skipped a beat really. Looks good. Looks, physically looks awesome. His approaches looks like he's, progressing really well. Jose Ramos, another name, keep an eye on. He's knocking on the door. So, but we talked, on the live yesterday that we did with Blake, that Kike Hernandez allows them to have a guy that's versatile all over the field, and he's not going to just log jam you in three outfield spots. He's not. Margot doesn't play any of the infield things. You're not DHing him, yada yada. But it allows the Dodgers to, if there's someone just tearing the cover off of the ball, you're able to call him up. You're able to maneuver in that sense that it's time for one of these young outfielders, just like James Outman did, have a spot somewhere. Yeah. If it's a bench role or if it's a part-time role, something, God forbid something happens injury-wise, they have options that are knocking on the door. Ramos, Double-A last year, and so far he looks, as advertised. He's going to have a lot of athleticism, has some pop, get on base, man. So to your point, that this was really about the depth. Like Manuel Gamargo just kind of felt like, was he really a necessary add-on to begin with?
No.
Was he? So it feels like they've built this exactly how they think. They've got a couple guys knocking on the door. Miguel Vargas transitioning to the outfield. So it was just a necessary move.
Ozzy, thank you for the super chat. We greatly appreciate it. Let's hit some rapid fire on some of these questions. Sebastian, I'll come to you quickly. Thoughts on the Bellinger deal? Good, bad, or expected?
Yeah, I'd probably say it's good for the Cubs. The thing that was probably holding up a Bellinger deal, obviously maybe his asking price. Yeah. Cubs, and then obviously some of the other teams would be interested in not trying to be more cautious with just kind of the one good year, bounce back year he had.
Yeah,
I'm probably trying to stay on the safe side. So I think I didn't take a close look at the contract, but I think it's set up in a way where there's kind of options and stuff like that. So in a way where it's beneficial to the club and to Bellinger. So it's a good deal for the Cubs. And then obviously if Cody can continue his resurgence, then he could probably parlay that into a better deal in the future.
Yeah, look, when you go from asking for $200 million plus at the beginning of the offseason and then sign an $80 million contract, it's not awesome. To your point, he can opt out basically whenever he wants to. So if he's good, he can opt out and test free agency. If he's bad, he at least gets $80 million. But it's a bad look. It's Scott Boras has egg on his face after the Cody Bellinger saga. And if I'm being honest, Scott, I think this is a pretty fair value for a guy that had some good numbers last year. Some of the underlying metrics: exit velocity 22nd percentile, barrel rate 27th percentile, hard hit percentage 10th percentile. So it felt like a lot of smoke and mirrors with Cody, who I like. I'll always remember hit the biggest home run of my life, Game 7 of the NLCS in 2020. So I'm a pro Cody Bellinger sort of Dodger time, but I felt like this was about fair for him, Scott.
Yeah, like the dude just, I think you said it yesterday. He was Blake might have he was one of the worst hitters in the league for 2 straight seasons. Comes out here, gets MVP votes, but his underlying metrics, which they are going to look at, it's not old school ball where they're like, yeah, how many homers, RBI did you have? Here you go. That's not, no, you can look at, and projected stuff matters. This is kind of, it sucks because it's like, this feels like I'm not going to say it sucks. The dude's getting 20 something million a year, and he can just decide if he wants to come back or not. But kind of expected. It's bad and expected for me. But he has to do it again and then opt out, test, and then go test the market, and then it'll work out. But it just happened that I don't think anybody really is surprised that one, year like this didn't net him 200 plus million.
Yeah. Okay. I said rapid fire and then I talked for far too long. So we're going to actually do rapid fire this one. Who has a better chance of making the rotation as a number 5 starter, Sheehan, Grove, or Stone? I think Sheehan's probably the obvious answer here. Sebastian, do you zag on that, or are you going with Sheehan?
Yeah. The first show I was on here, that kind of was a question too, where someone brought up where Sheehan has a higher ceiling, but the other two kind of have a higher floor. I think it's always good, especially if you have the depth that the Dodgers have to go with the higher ceiling. I'd go with Sheehan too.
Okay. Scott, agree?
Sheehan.
Yeah. Okay. Ohtani Dong has a question. Ohtani's hardest hit ball this season will be ... His max exit velocity last year was 118.6. It was 119.1 and 119 the 2 years prior. Those are all 99th percentile, by the way, for those keeping track. 118.6. Scotty, you going over or under?
118.1.
Okay. Sebastian?
I'd go under too.
I'm going over, baby. Full-time hitter this year. Guy's gonna hit the gym and be jacked. Give me 119 and change for Ohtani this year. Let's see. Hawaiian Kira wants to know any changes to the 26-man roster since there are 2 opening days for the Dodgers. The Korea series will not be a real 26-man roster because there's no reason to have 5 starting pitchers on your 26-man roster for those 2 games. So they're going to have a crap load of bullpen guys and long guys in the Korean series would be my guess. So if that's what you're asking, like, will that be different than the American opening day? I would say the answer is yes. On the pitching side, they probably pick, put your 2 starters on the 26-man roster and figure it out from there. Scott, do you think, I'll ask you briefly, are the Dodgers done? Like, do we have the 26 guys who will be on the opening day roster? Are they in Dodger uniforms right now?
Yes. I don't, but I know the chat would be like, yeah, go get Snell. I've seen that a few times. No, I think they're done. I think this is who they've got. They're gonna push this on. Yeah.
Okay. Here's a great question. What do you guys like to eat for breakfast, and what will you be eating at 3 a.m. watching the Korea series? Sebastian, I know you're new. We like to talk about food. I don't know if you have good food opinions or bad food opinions. We'll find this out as time goes on. This is a historically it's a rough group of people. So Scotty, I'll start with you. 3 a.m. Korea series. What are we eating? We cracking some eggs? What are we doing?
Just for you, buddy. Cake? I'm just gonna have some seeds and a Red Bull.
Wow, 3 a.m. Red Bull.
That's
there we
it.
Go.
Yeah, we're just gonna bloodshot eyes this and just be screaming.
I actually think I'm gonna be in Vegas for the second of these 2 games, so I'll have some food options there. But 3 a.m. 3 a.m. is definitely, you have to wake up early. This isn't a stay up late situation because your day is just beginning at 2:45 a.m. I'll go, I can't imagine I'm going to be making something. That's the thing. Like, if I'm making myself something, I got to get up even earlier than that. So I'm going, give me a bowl of honey bunches of oats. That's what I'm crushing for breakfast. Sebastian, what do you got?
I will say the first time I was on, the chat seemed to like my opinions.
Okay.
I'm going to go the day before. I'm going to go to my local donut shop we have here. I'm going to pick up a cronut. And I'm going to save it for the morning.
Cronut. Scotty, you big donut guy?
Yeah, maple bar all around.
I love that. Love that. That's a good call. Pick up some donuts, maybe some bagels the day before. I like that. Let's see.
Don't pick
Which
Blake.
player not named Ohtani or Yamamoto gets the first TV commercial in Japan? It's a great question. I'm going Glass now. I just think he has the vibe. Give me Glass now. Sebastian?
Freddie's too likable not to bet against them.
Okay, Freddie, Scott?
Mookie.
All right, yeah, that's fair. Blake saying he just saw that he was on the Sportsnet LA episode of the Fernando jersey retirement. So shout out to our guy Blake. He's famous now.
Everyone thumbs up Blake. Nice, man.
Scott, here's the question you were referencing. Looked like Snell's market is collapsing. You think it's too late for Friedman to give him a 2-year deal?
This would be. I still think he's going to New York, like to the Yankees. Like for some reason, I just still think that's going to be a thing. But yeah, is his market already collapsed? Like it kind of has been that way for a long time. Owners are kind of ganging up on this, saying like they know. Like you can look and see why there's pause. Yeah, you can totally see why there's pause with Blake Snell. Yeah. Friedman, is he going a 2-year deal? No. I don't. I think it's too late. I don't think they have it.
Sebastian, if the Dodgers see something significantly discouraging from Buehler, do you see them going after another starter? If so, who?
I'll preface it by saying it kind of depends on what the young guys look like. I mean, they certainly have the ammunition to go out and get someone, but I'll say I think they got enough in the system already.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just think between Bobby Miller, Emmett Sheehan, Gavin Stone, Michael Grove, Buehler coming back. Obviously, the premise is he's not pitching well. Kershaw eventually coming back if he does come back. I just Paxton, a guy we don't even mention, the Big Maple. They've got enough guys in the system, I think, to patch it together. They'll be more prepared than they were last year, for sure. Nando wants to know, any of the non-roster spring training invites stand out? Do you think any of them make the roster? You guys, I believe you were both down in Arizona for a little bit, right? Sebastian, any of the non-roster guys jump out to you?
Not really.
Besides Daniel Hudson. Daniel Hudson doesn't
Yeah.
count. He's a non-roster guy that Dave has basically already said is going to make the opening day roster.
Yeah, that was going to be my guy, but that kind of seemed too obvious. So I don't, besides him, nothing really stands out to me.
Scott, it just feels like they've got a 26-man roster that's already full.
Yeah, feels pretty locked, definitely. I know I would have loved to give a shout out to River Ryan, but I know he's dealing at some news just came out about him, which is super unfortunate.
Yeah.
What did I shout out a few weeks ago or like last week? It was like Chrismat. I know that made you chuckle.
Chrismat. Big Nabil.
Yeah. Big Chrismat guy.
Anytime anytime I hear him, I just think of this one tweet I saw where it was like someone tweeted out, "She Nabil on my Chrismat till I forget. She Nabil on something until like Chrismat or something." I don't know.
Crazy.
It was
brutal guy. Brutal from the former Padre. Blake wants to know why I won't answer his question about shoes. Scott had to go do a wellness check on Blake because this guy was blowing up a group text talking about why shoes were shaped the way that they were and how they need to be shaped more like his toes. And basically it was a big advertisement for Crocs, I think, Scott. So did you want to add anything to that?
He just wants to feel more at home with his Lightning McQueen Crocs so he can say Kerchow as he's walking around the stadium.
Yeah. It's fair. Mr. John Rod wants to know, Sebastian, if Ohtani breaks your windshield with a home run out of Dodger Stadium, do you sue or have him sign it?
I have him sign it and then use the money to fix it and then keep the profit.
Okay. I'm just taking the ball. We got insurance. Insurance maybe cover that windshield. Scotty?
Just saw off the top of your car and just put it on display.
I love it. Okay. TQT. Expectations of Muncy. Does he continue his spiral into an extreme 3 true outcomes player? What about his defense? I'm buying Max Muncy stock, Scotty. He's in good shape. Best shape of his life.
Yep.
I know he bounced the ball today, but I'm buying. Stock up Max Muncy, Scotty.
Yeah, I don't care about his defense. I've been pretty, I really couldn't care less about his defense as long as he's out here hitting 30+ homers. Like I really do not care. I care, but I don't care. Ceilings and floors, guys. My favorite thing. My care for defense is down here, is up here. If he's hitting 30+ bombs, don't care. He's gonna put up just as much as he, makes errors on the field.
Sebastian, who hits the first home run of the regular season for the Dodgers?
I mean, we got to go storybook and just go Ohtani, right?
Yeah, batting second. Scotty?
Mookie.
Give me Muncy. We're just talking about Muncy. Muncy's going yard. Scotty and I have a bet, Sebastian, by the way. Scotty says Barnes getting a hit in his first at bat. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, man. Jump on board. First, just do it. It's too funny not to jump on that. It's just hilarious. Awesome Barnes, man.
He finds a way to
just gonna
he comes up in the big moments, and it's a pretty exciting series, so why not?
Okay, Sebastian, I'm gonna put you on the spot with the last question here because it's my favorite food question. Okay. I want you to imagine yourself on a road trip. You're going into a convenience store. Okay. You get to pick one drink, you get to pick one salty snack item, and you get to pick one dessert item. Could be candy, could be whatever you want. So you get one drink, one snack, one dessert. What's Sebastian Ibarra walking out of the convenience store with? Oh, you already did this one on Sunday?
I was about to say.
You stole my question?
I was about to say I didn't want to burst your bubble.
Wow. They stole my question. Blake, you should be ashamed of yourself. This is my question. This is tragic. I don't even know where to go from here.
That's it. Thanks, guys, for joining. Appreciate
It's brutal. That's my question. They steal it from me. I don't know. Give me your In-N-Out or Five Guys.
Ooh.
No shot. Don't hesitate.
What are you hesitating for?
There's
What are you doing?
there's one literally by my gym, but I'll go
Yeah.
in and out.
Thank you.
Jeez, Sebastian, that took
Peer
way too
pressure.
long. All right. It's a bad start to this. Okay. Non in and out, like Five Guys division, just classic fast food restaurants. What's at the top of the list? We got McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, all those. What's a Jack in the Box? What's number one on that list?
It's got to be burger or just fast food in general.
Like in the burger world.
I guess I go Five Guys. You know, it's like I said, it's right by my gym, so I kind of ruined my workout afterwards, but it's kind of worth
What
it.
about the affordable? You know, not $17 for a fast food burger, but we're going under $8.
Let's see. I don't really go to there's if I go get a burger that's not that, it's usually kind of like a mom and pop kind of deal.
Blake says you've got a McDonald's story for me.
Oh yeah, I live in Downey, California. We have the oldest operating McDonald's in ever, I think. Yeah.
Was it the original one?
It's not original. It's like it was maybe the second or third, but it's the oldest operating.
Okay. There you go. Cool stuff. McDonald's stock down for me, by the way. I've had a couple Wendy's burgers lately, guys. Buying stock in Wendy's. Wendy's stock up, Scotty. How do you feel about that?
What about? Oh, well, I love Wendy's, man. But didn't they mention that like they're doing something like 2025?
Fluctuating prices. If you go during busy times, the prices of burgers is going to be more expensive.
I'm out. Like I don't eat fast food much. I talk about that, but that's if I ever do decide to just, lollygag on over to get some fast food, it definitely won't be Wendy's. Take your square hamburger, think about it. You finish the rest.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, hey everybody, we appreciate you joining us as always here on Dodger Heads Live. We are here every Tuesday night. We're here every Friday night. We're here every Sunday night. Throughout the spring, once the season starts, Tuesdays and Fridays will be live post-game shows. Sunday night, kind of our podcast version. Sebastian Ibarra, again, making his second appearance on the show. Great to have you with us, Sebastian. We appreciate you contributing. You can check out his stuff over at DodgerBlue.com. Scott Geirman, the same thing. Check out their content. Tons of great stuff written up at DodgerBlue.com. You can follow social media at DodgerBlue1958, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube as well. And of course, if you're new here, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and check out the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Google. Enjoy the rest of your night, folks. As always, go Dodgers.